Welcome to Whitley Penn Talks. We're here for the Whitley Penn Cares podcast series where we interview our local nonprofits. Today I have the honor of being joined by Regina Fadden. She's the president of the Museum of Science and History here in Fort Worth. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History?
I am relatively new to Texas, and I was told it was a beloved institution as I was interviewing here, and that is absolutely true. So it's been around for about 75 years, and we have exhibits. We hold collections. I mean, that's really the goal of museums, is to preserve, cultural history for future generations. So we have natural history, science collections, history collections, and so really representing a lot of the natural history of this area, as well as the cultural history of Fort Worth and the southwest of Texas. But anyways, that's what we focus on. And so we provide education through exhibits, through programs, through podcasts ourselves. We have a few of those available. And then also through field trips come in. We have tens of thousands of kids who experience field trips or remote programs at their schools through generous funders in the community who make that possible.
It's so true. My friend and I were talking here at Whitley Penn this week about how much we look back fondly on the Museum of Science and History for so many of the field trips we got to do in school, but I didn't know you guys had virtual field trips.
Well, we have some, and then this is literally where the educators go out to the schools. Ooh. And so funders in the community, such as the Rainwater Foundation, help sponsor programs where students who might not be able to get to the museum normally, we take things out to the community, and then we have family museum nights where the generations can come together. So parents can come with the younger or older siblings with the child who's been in the program, so then they get to see the museum themselves. So it's something special at night, Tuesdays and Thursdays generally, where they can come in and just have the museum to themselves.
I love that it's generational too, so you could do it with your parents, you could do it with kids, if you're in that stage of life. That's so fun. So you mentioned that you're new to the area, but you've been in this position for a little bit now. Why don't you tell us about what you do at the museum?
So, like any director, CEO, I work with the board and with the staff to fulfill our mission, to educate and serve the public here, and to, like I said, to care for our collections. Of course, that means staffing, budgeting, strategy, planning, all those things that people like me enjoy. And so really, I said, working with and then also with community partners. So one of the things that museums really focus on now is how are we serving the community rather than being more focused on collections. It's really like, what is our value to the community? So I am out in the community quite a bit. I've joined the local Rotary Club, which I've been a part of for 15 years, but also meeting people at different organizations such as the Botanical Garden or our neighbors in the cultural district to collaborate, to work together. We also work with universities like TCU to invite interns in to gain experience in the museum field and to contribute to their academic growth. So it's a variety of things that we do. Museums, when I mention what we do, some people say, really? It's really a very broad mission that we have as far as service to the community.
It's amazing. So what caused you to connect with the Museum of Science and History's mission?
So one of the things that I really liked about the museum, and that is, I think, still pretty unique to this museum, is the way that it began. 16 women in the community who came together. So it's really a grassroots beginning to provide science programs, enrichment for, early education. And so that has been carrying on. We are celebrating our 75th year of museum school this year. And everywhere I go in the city, there are alums who tell me about their experience, at museum school and what a difference it made, and then maybe that their children or their grandchildren have also been involved in museum school. So that was something that was very interesting to me, the longevity of it, the uniqueness of the program. But then also, I think museums are, regardless of where they are, they can really help enhance a community, not only through education, but also when people go in and they feel like you did when you went into your field trips and you felt connected to the place, then people care more about their community. They feel better about themselves. They feel more invested in where they live. And so, and I think from what I saw when I was visiting it first and what I've seen in action since I've been at the museum, it is really an integral part of the community and so deeply embedded in people's experience here that that's a privilege to be there and to help the museum continue that.
I wonder how many people my age and older have crazy memories of the dino dig and how many, I can't tell you how many times we were in the dino dig. My mom and I were talking about that this morning on my drive in. I told her I was interviewing you, and she's like, oh my gosh, you and your brother loved that dino dig. Well, there's so many things that the museum does in our community, and you've touched on a handful of those. Is there anything you want to expand on, to share a little bit more about?
One thing I know that is getting a good response from people in the community is really focusing on people with developmental disabilities. So, for example, we just got a communications board. So people may not be familiar with what that is, but people who are non-speaking, maybe have autism or other challenges communicating verbally. It is like literally like a board with pictures on it to help them say, yes, I want to go here, or to identify things that are going on. So to encourage families to come to the museum and feel that there are resources there for them, because museums have not always been great in their history overall of thinking about people with disabilities, whether it's people who cannot see or have hearing challenges, or again are non-speaking. They have their words, but they don't always know how to communicate them. So it's up to us to figure out how to communicate with people in a way that makes them comfortable. We also have sensory times. So those are times when the museum it's restricted as far as admission, and the lights go down, and we try to be, quieter, a little softer experience for people who need that kind of experience for their children. And so we have had a lot of positive feedback from parents who say, my child never really felt comfortable someplace, and you've really made him or her feel comfortable in this space, and that they can have good experience. And it's for the family too, and it's not just the child who's got that disability, but the whole family can come together. So we had a family make a little TikTok video or something, just a short video, and I think put it on Instagram to thank us for that. And I think that's a place that we're all improving as far as serving people who maybe had felt excluded before.
I love that. I love the inclusive nature of the museum. So you host so many special events throughout the year. I think particularly your Mad Science Ball is like a huge hit in the local community. Do you want to talk about some of those different one-off events that get to happen through the year?
Well, I will talk about one that will not be upcoming for another year, but we just did this at Cinco in the district. So we partnered with our neighbors on Gendy Street, Arts Fort Worth, and the National Cowgirl Museum, and we had and with the support of Visit Fort Worth, and they sent us a report yesterday, and this is the first time we've done it, and we plan to make it an annual event. We had over 5,000 people there. Whoa. For an afternoon. So the museum's opened, and it was a free admission day, and the community came between lowriders or a cultura market and other members of the community, mariachi and dancers and ballet folklorico. People showed up, and we had a great time, and so we want to continue to do that and make sure that everybody in the community feels that they're welcome there. And so they said the Mad Scientist Ball. We also have Engineers Week. We have Chemistry Week. And those are opportunities to partner with schools and organizations to bring in resources, again, for visitors and educators to find out what's current and what's happening, and give students a chance also to demonstrate science for visitors. So those types of things are left. And the Mad Scientist Ball is our fundraiser that's happening September 28th. So that's a lot of fun. And then we have changing exhibits that have been coming in. So right now it's called Mexican Roots. That's in our smaller exhibit space, but that's talking about folk art and the rich culture of Mexico that came from the combination or the interaction of indigenous cultures and then the Spanish culture, colonization, but also, like I said, the dynamic blend of cultures and art that flourished in that place. So those are some of the things. We have Wild Krats exhibit, people who might have children. Wild Krats they're two brothers, and they talk about animals and their habitats, and so we're going to have that coming in September, so that will be a lot of fun. And so just look at our calendar. There's always something going on.
Yeah, you make it sound like a very full calendar.
It is. It is.
So let's talk through any local or any new initiatives coming up. We've talked a little bit before we got started about the new Omni, but just anything else you want to share or an update about Omni.
Okay, well, the Omni Theater, and many people, again, are familiar with it when it was the IMAX. And if there's a phrase that people use to describe their experience there, was a rite of passage. So many people went through on school tours or went down for, just for entertainment. So during COVID and a while before I got here, the board decided to convert the IMAX or to renovate the IMAX dome into a digital dome. So if you can imagine a giant LED screen, and that sort of sells it short. It's an 8K resolution screen. That's as much as a human eye can see. And it's really hard to describe what an experience it is, how immersive it feels. And so it will be that full dome that will go back over your head, and it's probably going to open, we're hoping, by early or mid-November. So we'll bring back our Polar Express and the pajama party and all that tradition that people are used to around Christmas time. But it's really going to be extraordinary because, again, it's hard to explain. People have to come see it. I know that people will want to come see it, what they're really going to experience in that. With the documentaries, with the films that we're doing, we can do programs. Again, think of it like an iPad. Anything you can do on an iPad, because it's totally digital, you can do on the screen. So you could be having remote conversations with multiple people around the world. You could be having conferences, performances. There's all sorts of opportunities. I mean, it's really the Porsche of theaters, and we're going to take it for a good ride.
And am I right in remembering that I think we're going to be the only city in the world that has something quite this large and amazing?
Of course, because it's Fort Worth. So it will be the largest dome of its type in a museum in the world. So the company, Cosm, is building domes, and if people might be familiar with the Sphere in Las Vegas, it's the same company, same technology, just on the inside of the building. And so mostly what they've been building is entertainment venues. So we are the only museum dome of its type. I think they're building one in Prague, but it's not going to be a full dome. It's going to be more of a theater screen. So that will be a little bit different. But yes, we are back on the cutting edge of technology at the museum.
That is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I'm hoping Polar Express can work because it's a big one in our family that we like to do around Christmas. But man, that would be fun. So how can we get more involved with the Museum of Science and History?
Well, we always like to see you come to the museum. There are opportunities to volunteer if anybody wants to get involved with anything in particular. I mean, everything from collections to events to programs. I mean, there are all sorts of opportunities there. We, in our collection space, just helping the people work with our collections. So that might be anything from archives to our taxidermy animals. Sometimes people come with a lot of skills that maybe they haven't been able to use, or they weren't, or they've used on their jobs, or things that they were interested in before. I mean, I've met a lot of people who were interested in history and ended up going into something different for their career. So then they enjoy coming to work with us on that. You can also become a member, and then follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and I think mainly we'd like to see people get involved, come and see what's going on and participate in what we're doing, and I think those are some of the most significant ways to get involved there.
And the date for the Mad Scientist Ball was September 28th?
September 28th.
Okay. So anybody who wants to go to that, you probably need to start marking your calendar when the podcast comes out.
Yes, there's a lot going on. So we know there are a lot of different things like Zoo Ball and other things in the community. So we try to deconflict as much as possible. We want to respect everybody else's event, but it's September 28th.
Tough to do with a social calendar like Fort Worth's. Well, we'll share more about links to your Instagram page and everything like that. Do you have a TikTok? That gets asked a lot more than it used to.
I think so.
We think so. We'll verify. Well, we're so grateful that you came on and you were willing to spend some time talking to us about all the wonderful things going on at the museum. And I know there's going to be so many people, like I said, who grew up here who are ready to get back and see the dome or get back into some of the exhibits. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody on our next podcast with Whitley Penn Cares. And we thank you so much for listening.